What's up, everyone? It's Anthony Morocco, coach and GM of Cavs Legion GC. This is part 3 of 6 of our Rocket Mortgage tutorials. Today we'll be breaking down the shooting guard position. As I previously mentioned, for the point guard position this year, the shooting guard is an inch taller and a little bit heavier. It's 6'6", 210 pounds. There's 5 positions this year. There's the lockdown defender, sharp shooting defender, pure sharp, the sharp shooting shot creator, and the sharp shooting playmaker. For this year's version of the shooting guards, I think there's a lot more creativity than there was last year. Last year, you only really saw 2 variations in the pure sharp and sharp shooting shot creator. I have to put 4 favorites here instead of 3. My 4 favorites would be the lockdown defender, the sharp shooting defender, pure sharp, and then the sharp shooting shot creator. I think that there's going to be a lot of variation with teams running a pure lockdown this year, and I think that the shooting guard offers a little bit more speed than the small forward and is able to kind of make the switches onto the 1 through 3, which I think will be very beneficial for the way that the defensive schemes are going to operate in 2K19. The sharp shooting defender, again, I think it gives you a little bit of variation from just the pure lock. It also allows you to kind of shoot behind the arc and gives it a little bit more of an offensive capability outside of the defensive benefits. The pure sharp is a staple of this league. I will always have pure sharps. I think that they are arguably one of the most important positions, and I'll get into that in a few minutes. And then the sharp shooting shot creator, I think that this gives the ability to have a secondary ball handler, someone that can shoot from behind the line, but also kind of get to the spots on the court and to make those transition twos and kind of lay it up in the rim. The sharp shooting playmaker for me is not as beneficial, but I'm not saying that it's not a good position. So for something that I'm looking for in shooting guard, which is one of the positions that Cavs Legion is really heavily eyeing for this upcoming season, is there are really a few things that need to happen. One, green efficiency is like the most important thing. I cannot tell you how many times Toxic in last year's season made some big time greens and just made some big time threes, heavily smothered contested greens when we needed him the most. So being able to knock down your shots on a consistent basis, and I'm talking like 46 out of 50, like to that level, is something that is very, very, very highly going to be regarded. In addition to having just like that knockdown shot, I think that if you're going to be approaching the lockdown position, what we're really looking for is your ability to make others' efficiency negligible. If you're a lockdown defender guarding a point guard, their efficiency needs to go down immensely. There needs to be efficient steals. There needs to be having the ability to really stagnate the opposing team's offense and primary ball handler. I think that the lockdown defender will probably be used against the 1 or 3 this year. I think that the biggest things for all 4 of these positions is making your shots when you get the wide open shots, having the ability to create for yourself. A lot of the 2 guards in the league that were extremely successful were not only threats when they were open, but could create using their screens or using players or using dribble moves. They could create for themselves and get to open spots. Someone who did this tremendously well, especially at the beginning of the season, was ZDS for the 76ers. There was a point in the season where everyone's like, what is this kid's jumper? He greens so much. And I remember sitting in the studio and all you hear is green at the top of his lungs 6 or 7 times in one half, and I'm like, what is happening? So I think that for the sharpshooters especially, efficiency from shooting and your green percentage are incredibly important. You are looked upon to not miss. Like, that is the expectation that I'm having for our sharpshooter this year. You have to make it as uncomfortable for the opposing team sharpshooter as much as possible. Getting around screens, reading the wraps. Like, one thing that I will say about a lot of the NBA 2K League teams' offense, a lot of it is based around getting sharps open through wraps and screens. If you can't communicate with your teammates when you're not going to be able to make it around that wrap or screen, like, it is one of the most detrimental things in the entire league. So I would say offense, knocking down your shots, green efficiency, being able to create for yourself, and then defense, being able to communicate with your team at all possible times to identify when you can get around the wraps and screens and when you cannot and when you need help. And I think that if you're able to do those things, it will really shine in this year's Combine. Thank you again so much for tuning into this portion of our Rocket Mortgage tutorials. Next up is the small forward.